Hey guys, welcome back to Unbelievable English. If you've watched the channel before, you know that we've talked about Century Golem Edition. Today, we're going to talk about Century Eastern Wonders. It uses a lot of the same ideas in a different way. This is the second game in the series. There's a third game, Century A New World, that maybe we'll get to in the future. But now, let's go learn about Century Eastern Wonders. Alright guys, let's check out the components for Century Eastern Wonders. So Century Eastern Wonders, as you can see, another beautiful game, a really nice production. And let's talk about what we have here. The first thing you're going to see is our map, these series of connected islands. And you'll see that they're actually modular, so every island is its own tile. So every game you're going to get a different combination, a different map. And in fact, the game comes with extra pieces, so you're never going to use the same map each time. You're never going to use the same islands each time. As long as you're mixing things up, you're going to get a different combination every time you play. Let's take a look at the islands and see what they show us. So first of all, the island will tell us what kind of island it is. This island specializes in chilies. They produce a lot of chilies, and they're looking to make some trades. They would very much like these green cubes, and we'll talk about what each one of the cubes is. The green cubes are tea. They would very much like tea, and in trade, they're willing to give, for 2 tea, they're willing to give 2 chili and 1 clove. So that's a pretty good deal that they're willing to make. And they're willing to do that multiple times. So on your turn, if you end up there, you can do that a bunch. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. So that's what the tile looks like. You'll also see, actually, on the tile, let's look one more time very closely. There's spots here for something to be put. And we'll see what that's going to be in a couple of minutes. So every island has the type of island it is, and every island has what they're willing to trade, what they want and what they'll give. You'll also see that there are 4 spots in the corners that are, they don't look like the others. This is what's called a port island, and on the port island, that's where you're going to be getting your point tiles. And here you'll see, here's a point tile. You trade, you give the port what it wants. So in this case, it wants 1 chili, 2 cloves, and 2 ginger. And in response, they'll give you 13 points. So this is one way to get points. Anytime you see this kind of beautiful light blue background and the white numbers, those are points available throughout the game. All right, so that takes care of the map. We have our 4 port tiles with the tile kind of scoring cards, the port tile cards. And let's take a look at the player board. So the player board is here, and there are a couple of important things we're going to see. First of all, every player starts with a boat, and we're going to be placing that boat out on the mat, just as soon as we start playing. So one of the things I like most about this game is that it gives you lots of choices. And then we'll see all of these wooden houses on the mat, on your player board. And those houses are set up in columns and in rows. And we'll see as we put these little houses out on the board, they're going to be worth money. They're actually not houses. They're trading houses. But as we take these trade houses and put them out on the board, we're going to uncover numbers. Every number we uncover is points for us. So on our player board, there's an additional way to get points. We already talked about the first way to get points. Here's another. By uncovering spots on your player board. So if I were to use all of the houses in my ginger row, I would get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points just by getting these out onto the board. Now, you may not want to do that because it's also really beneficial, really helpful to try to clear out these columns. Now, I showed you that this ginger trade house needs to go on a ginger island. This chili trade house needs to go on a chili island. And you can't pick and choose. First of all, the rows, you only take the trade houses from the proper row for each island. So as I sail from island to island, I will very carefully and specifically choose my trade houses. I have to start at this end and move that way. So I have to start on the left-hand side and move to the right as I take trade houses and put them out on the map, representing where I have created deals with the islanders. If I can finish a column on my player mat, then I can choose one of these upgrades. I talked about all the choices you can make in this game. This is one of them. When I finish a column, I can choose one of these upgrades. Before we talk about the upgrades, let's talk about this last piece of the player board. This is what's called your cargo hold. If you watched our video on Century Golem Edition, you know that in Century Golem Edition, you have a player mat that is a wagon where you're keeping your gems. Well, in this game, we don't have a wagon, we have a sailboat. And in our boat, we have a cargo hold. And your cargo hold can hold 10 spices. These cubes represent those spices. In Century Golem Edition, we didn't have spices, we had gems. In Century Eastern Wonders, and in Century New World, which is the third game in the series. There are 3 games in the series. We have spices, and we've already talked about those spices. There's ginger, chili, tea, and cloves. Those are the 4 spices, and again, you can have 10 of those at the beginning of the game, 10 maximum on your player board. And those are the components. Let's check out gameplay. All right, guys, here we go. We've got a 3-player game set up, and let's show you how it works. So the black player will be the first player in this game. Pink player will go second, white player will go third. And because the white player is going third, he gets to make choices before anybody else. I told you there's lots of choices in this game. Well, the white player looks at the board and then looks at this set of 4 different kind of groups of cubes. And the white player, because he's going last, chooses first, chooses his starting resources, and he's going to choose these 4 yellow cubes. And he's going to put them into his cargo hold. And then he gets to choose his starting island, and he'd like to start right here on this mint island. Put that down so it's easier to see. And then the pink player is going to go. And the pink player, he's going to choose the 2 red cubes. And he's going to go right here to this mint island. Mint islands are getting a lot of play early here. And then the black player is going to choose these 2, the tea and the ginger. He's going to put those in his cargo hold. And he's going to start out here on this ginger island. And you can see already that you want to choose your starting resources, your starting spices, to match the island that you want to go to. And so we're ready to go. And now the black player is going to go first. Now on your turn, you have a couple of different choices you can make. first thing that the black player is going to do is decide whether he wants to harvest, which simply means that he doesn't do anything else and he takes 2 gingers. He could move first if he wanted to. And in fact, that's the first thing he has to decide, is if he wants to move. But he chose this island very deliberately, so he's not going to go anywhere. And he's going to choose between harvesting or building a trade house if he does not have one. And then if he does build the trade house, or if he's on an island where there is already a trade house, he can make some trades. So the black player is going to build a chili trade house. And it's got to come out of that chili row, the first one in the chili row. He's going to put it on the island, and there's a cost here, but only if somebody else has built a trade house on the island first. You have to pay 1 cube, 1 spice, back to the bank for every other trade house on that island. Now, of course, this is the first trade house, and that means it's free. And the second thing he's going to do is he's going to trade his tea for 2 chilies. Now, if he had 2 teas, he could trade that for 4 chilies. 3 teas, he could trade it for 6. But he's only got the 1, so he's going to trade that for 2 chilies. And that'll be the end of his turn. That's all he can do. We'll move on to the pink player. And the pink player isn't going to move either. He chose this spot very deliberately. He's going to build a tea trade house on this island. And he's going to trade the 2 chilies that he received for 2 tea. And that'll be the end of his turn. Now the white player is also not moving. He's very happy with where he is. He's going to go ahead and build that trade house on the tea island. So it comes from the tea row. He's going to trade 4 ginger for 1 tea and 1 clove. Just like in Century Golem Edition, these are leveled up. So this is the first level, the cheapest, the second level, the third level, and then the most expensive is the cloves. All right, so everybody's taken 1 turn. We come back to our first player. And now the first player, he'd like to make some moves. So the first player is going to look at the board, and he's going to see that this island right here, this ginger island, is going to be good to him. Now, moving 1 island is free. He does not have to leave a cube behind him. If he wanted to move on to this chili island, he would move and he would leave a spice on the island behind him. And he could keep doing that if he wanted to, for as far as he wanted, as far as he could afford to go. You have to leave 1 spice on every island you go past. But he's not going to do that. He's very happy to be on this ginger island, because on this ginger island, he's going to build a trade house for free. And then he's going to trade those 2 chilies that he got for 2 ginger and a clove. He's going to add those to his cargo hold. And that's the end of his turn. Now it's the pink player's turn. He's got those 2 teas, and he also has a really nice combination here. It doesn't always work out this nicely. He's going to sail down to this chili island where he'll build a trade house, and he'll trade 2 tea for 2 chili and a clove. And that's the end of his turn. Goes pretty fast as long as you know what you're doing. The white player is going to go next. He or she, let's make the white player a she. I'm being very rude. The white player, she's going to sail down to this ginger island, and she's going to build a ginger trade house from her player board, and she's going to trade her 1 tea for 4 ginger and 1 chili. All that goes into their cargo hold, and then she tells the first player, the black player, that it's his turn again. And the black player is looking around, and he still has a pretty good deal going here. So the black player is going to sail down to the Clove Island underneath the ginger island he was on. He's going to build that clove trade house, and he's going to trade those 3 ginger for 1 clove. And that's the end of his turn. Pink player's turn. Now the pink player is stuck. Oh, but she has a good option here. She's just going to turn around and sail right back to the T island she was at. She could go to this island or that island. But if you go to an island where another player is, you have to pay them a cube. So in this case, the pink player would have to pay the white player a cube, and she does not want to do that. So she's going to sail right back to the T island, and she's going to trade the 2 chili she just got for 2 tea. And that way she doesn't have to give up any spices, and she can make another trade. That seems like a good deal. It's the black player's turn. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's the white player's turn. And the white player is in a similar situation. She's kind of in trouble too. But again, she can go right back to where she came from, and she can trade those 4 ginger for 1 tea and 1 clove. I promise you, I did not set the board up this way. It just kind of worked out that way. Okay, it's the black player's turn, and the black player has a plan. Black player is going to move over to this ginger island. He's going to build the 2nd ginger trade house from his player board, and that means he's going to get 1 point at the end of the game. And now he can, if he wants to, he can trade both of his cloves, and he can receive 6 ginger. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he can receive, what's the other part of the deal? 4 chilies. So he has a full cargo hold. He can't hold any more. At least not right now. Not until he gets an expansion for his cargo hold. So he's full. And that's the end of his turn. It's the pink player's turn. And the pink player could go right back and make that deal again. And that's not what we want to show you, but it's the smart move for her. Or she can, well, let's do this. Let's do this instead. She's going to sail to the port island. And on this island, she could buy this port tile, but she doesn't have the resources she needs for that. Instead, she's going to end her turn. She's not going to build anything because you can't build anything on a port tile. But what you can do on any island, instead of trading, instead of building a trade house, is you can harvest. And harvesting simply means taking 2 ginger. That's what she's going to do. Now it's the white player's turn. The white player is pretty pleased. She is going to sail up to this chili island. She's going to build her chili trade house, and she's going to make a big trade. She's going to trade these 2 cloves for 3 chili. Oops, sorry. And 2 tea. So she's got 3 chili cubes. She's got 2 tea cubes. She isn't full. She's still got 3 spaces in her cargo space, but her turn's over. And now we're back to the black player. The black player's turn. They are going to... They're going to come down to this tea island. Now, there's already a trade house here. And remember what I said. You have to pay 1 cube for every trade house that's already there. So if the white player had a tea trade house there, the black player would have to pay 2 cubes. But that's not the case. There's just the pink trade house here. That means it's going to cost him 1 ginger cube to build that tea trade house. Now you'll notice that he finished his column. So in a minute, he's going to choose an upgrade. But first, he is going to trade. He's going to trade, he's going to trade all 4 of those chilies for teas. He'll put those in his cargo hold, and that is the end of his turn. The black player now has to choose his upgrade, and the upgrades are fairly straightforward. This upgrade is just points. The first player to take this one gets 6 points, and then there's only a 5-pointer left. If somebody takes that, it's 4. If somebody takes that, it's 3. So points, that's it. We've already seen a harvest action. That's when the pink player took the 2 yellow cubes. If you take this upgrade, when you take a harvest, you also get a chili. So you get 2 gingers and a chili, and it's worth 1 point at the end of the game. This upgrade allows you to upgrade, that'll look familiar for anybody who's played the Century Golem, or who, if you've watched that video. This gray cube means that you can upgrade any one of your spices, and that arrow means you can move it up once. So in other words, I could make this tea a clove. I could make this ginger a chili. You can do that one time every time you build a trade house. And it's worth 2 points at the end of the game. This upgrade here allows you to take an extra island move for free. Remember I said that moving once is free. Moving to an adjacent island is free. But if you have this upgrade, you can make 2 moves for free without having to pay any cubes or leave anything behind. And then this is extra cargo space. So this will expand your cargo hold from 10 to 13 slots. And so the black player is looking at his options. It's fairly early in the game. He's going to choose this trade house upgrade, and he'll put it right next to his player board. So now, before anything else, he's already got 3 points at the end of the game. He's got 2 points from his upgrade, 1 point on the mat. So even though he has not bought any of those port tokens, he can still have points. So that's the end of his turn. It's the pink player's turn. And the pink player is going to sail right up here. She's going to build a clove trade house for free. There's no other trade houses there. And she's going to trade her 2 teas for 2 cloves. It's the white player's turn. The white player she's going to sail to the clove island next to her. And she's going to harvest. So she's going to take 2 ginger, put them in her cargo hold. Now it's the black player's turn. And the black player, he wants to get out to a fast start. He's going to sail to this port. He's going to spend 4 ginger. He's going to spend 2 tea. And he's going to buy that port tile. So right off the bat, the black player has 13 points. We're going to replace the port tile that was on that board, and then we keep playing. And this is really it. This is the whole game. We sail from island to island, making trades, trying to build our trade houses, trying to get more points from our board, trying to get those upgrades, and trying to get those trade tokens. And that's how we play. Once a player has 4 of these victory port tokens, that's going to trigger the end of the game. We'll play to the end of that round, and then we'll count our points. And remember, those points come from 3 main sources: our upgrades, our port tiles, and our player board. The person who has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. And that's how you play Eastern Wonders.